Hey everyone, you made it to our show, Diaries. It's a podcast where we get to take a journey into the lives of different experts and we get to explore their roots and their own self-care practices.
In each episode, we dive deep into their personal philosophies, daily rituals, and transformative experiences from their lives, which offer all of us valuable insights and practical tips for our own well-being.
Join us as we uncover the wisdom behind intentional living, one story at a time. What if the timing of your life isn't off? It's actually right on schedule.
We're joined once again by Carolyne Faulkner. She's an absolutely amazing astrologer, author, and guide whose work helps people find clarity, alignment, and deeper meaning through the lens of astrology. Carolyne has a way of grounding the cosmic, turning something vast and abstract into something incredibly practical, pragmatic, something you can actually feel, understand, and apply to your life.
In part one, we explore the foundations, how astrology can be used as a tool for self-awareness, what it means to trust where you are in your life right now, and why so many people feel disconnected these days from their own timing. Carolyne shows how to begin listening differently to yourself, to the patterns, and to the subtle signals that are always guiding you.
This conversation invites you to slow down, reframe where you are, and consider the possibility that nothing about your path is random.
So take a deep breath, settle in, and step into part one with Carolyne Faulkner, where we begin to explore alignment, awareness, and the deeper rhythm of your life.
Everything we do, everything we think, say, and hear and see impacts our minds and our energies and our souls.
All right, I got you.
Keep the flow
Carolyne Faulkner, welcome back to Diaries. We are so honored to have you onto our show. We thank you so much for coming back to us, number one. We appreciate you just taking the time out of your day-to-day. First, I'd like to start off, what have you been doing the last year? Last time we saw you was back in May of last year.
Yeah, wow.
It's almost been a whole year.
That's
You
crazy.
had multiple books that you were talking about. Like there's a lot. What's give us a bullet list.
I think well, first of all, I'm very grateful to be back on here. I think what you guys are doing is fantastic. I have been working on a few things. I can't talk about all of them because they haven't launched yet. But let's just say next time I come on, if we do it in a year, I'll be able to share all of them.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Can't really talk because I've had a project commissioned that I'm very excited about, but
Awesome.
I can't really say too much about it just yet.
All right.
I'm excited. Yeah. Next year we'll have to kick back with you. Yeah.
Tell us what you can talk about then. Give us the bullet of what else has been going on in your life.
Well, I sort of started working on a little podcast. I've had my podcast for a couple of years, but I haven't really done too much. It's called Tea and Spirituality. And I started working on that again, which is great. And I also put some stuff out called Signs of the Times because I'm very interested in current affairs and politics and how astrology interlinks and impacts current affairs. So I think that's quite interesting. I think what's going on right now, in terms of current affairs, I think that what you were just talking about was really interesting because I think on a spiritual level, what's going on is the old school of thought is about the patriarchy. And I'm not talking about, I'm talking about the sort of toxic masculinity, which is like the negative side of the patriarchy. And the matriarchy is trying to step in. And that's why when we were talking about that program that you were talking about, we're talking about the Epstein files. We're talking about, if there are any people on here, I'm very outspoken in terms of my thoughts towards MAGA. I don't. It's not my wish to offend people, but I have to keep it real and speak about what I think. But I actually think that that's part of the patriarchy and toxic masculinity as well. So I think that's very current at the moment. But on a very positive level, we have a shift in terms of the vibrations that people are working with. Everyone's becoming much more self-aware And it's
Mhm.
really important for us because we're spiritual beings having a physical existence. And I think it's really important, when we were talking about what's called the Manosphere, the program
Yep.
about sort of Andrew Tates of the world.
Yep. Yeah. So everyone that's listening right now, off air. We were talking about this new program we were watching, that I was watching actually on Netflix called Inside the Manosphere. For those of you that don't know what it is, take a look at it. Get your own opinion, of course. What you will, but what Caroline's talking about is leading into what that is. So, continue on, Caroline.
Yeah, so I think that in terms of, like I had a friend, like I was very interested in all of the Epstein stuff
Hmm.
but I don't want to stop sharing it because I feel like a lot of the stuff that's happening at the moment is trying to deflect and move us away from that.
So, what are you referring to in
I'm
the
talking
current events
about,
that we see is pulling us away from the spirituality of
well,
what?
I feel like on a very mundane level, what's
Mhm,
going on, for instance, with the US and Iran is
mhm,
basically, I'm sure ultimately the majority of the places that do get bombed seem to have one major thing in common, and that's oil. Let's
yep,
be honest.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It
So,
seems to be
but
a common fight over the
we,
history of times, right? So,
right, but I think that what the whole Epstein files is like I was in a quandary because I was thinking to myself, I don't want to stop looking at it and talking about it because I feel like a lot of what's going on is to deflect from the Epstein files because of how, what's been redacted, what hasn't been redacted, who is in there, who's not in there, etc.
sure.
But then the stuff with the Epstein files, I'm in a quandary because I'm thinking I don't want to lower my vibration. My vibration, I try and keep it quite high. So it's
Can you
almost
go
like,
into that for a little bit? I think, the purpose of our show is very much for the individual, and honestly for anybody, but think of it in terms of a new person is listening to us. They have no idea what we're talking about, right? So
yeah.
how does somebody raise their vibrations? How do you continue with that? What does that mean?
So basically, it's a much more positive way to live with a higher vibration. Low
Hmm.
vibrations are negativity, criticism, self-criticism, and also criticism of others and situations, etc. And basically, stuff like the Epstein files. I mean, it's very, very dark.
Yep.
I
Yeah, for sure.
So
personally
why
feel.
why are you so interested in the Epstein files? I mean, I can understand why you would want to stop looking into that dark stuff because it
Mhm.
definitely lowers the vibration. But what
Right.
was of interest? Why would you even? Because there's
So
all kinds of things to look into.
yes, I think what interested me the most was how sort of big the web was and how much power is being used against the
Mhm.
vulnerable. You're talking, young children, young girls, and then that it's all about power, you see. And so why I find that very interesting is because Pluto in astrology represents power, and it was in Capricorn for a long time, which represents the hierarchy and sort of,
Mm.
Capricorn. I'm not talking about Capricorns per se, just,
Right.
I'm talking about the energy of Capricorn. Capricorn is about the tradition. It's about, if, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is about royalty. It's about the sort of CEOs. It's about the banking system. It's about the way things are done and the way things that are, the way things that are they're always done. Sorry, sirens,
Hmm.
London. And so
London,
it's
baby.
yeah, so it's almost like that shifted, and now we're dealing with Pluto, the sort of epitome of power, if you like, and that's moved into the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is about awareness, humanity, and basically bringing things to the surface. So
Hmm.
the reason I'm so interested in it is because the Pluto and Aquarius, all this stuff with all of the Epstein files has been quite shocking to so many people. But the majority of stuff that's gone on in the Epstein files was, if you were to talk about that even 3 years ago, you would have just been called a conspiracy theorist. Whereas now it's all
Right.
coming out to actually it was a lot of these conspiracies were true. So on
Mhm.
an astrological level, I'm very interested. I don't think that that's just there's going to be a lot more stuff like that happening because Pluto is in Aquarius. Revolution, sort of
So more items are going to be revealed, is what you're saying. Not
exactly.
specifically to Epstein, but just things in general in this lifetime, in this time where Pluto is residing in. It's the
Exactly.
time of revelation, is what you're saying.
Revelation.
Got
Exactly.
it.
So you're
And
Fair
wondering
enough.
what other kind of Epstein type stuff is there out there? So are you wanting to look into that so you can almost see patterns and
well,
recognize where there's
I
other things?
yes, I think that the other thing is that we're talking about, talking about conspiracy theories and everything else. We have to wonder how
Mm.
many, because, we're talking about, because, really and truly, springing onto religion a second, and
Mhm.
I'll tell you for why the reason that I'm sort of talking about this because I went to Roman Catholic boarding school. I think I mentioned this on the last the podcast that we first did together. I went to Roman Catholic
Yep.
boarding school. I was baptized, sort of Church of England, and then I went on to study Buddhism, which I absolutely love, and for me, that really resonates to me, and it makes sense because it's very, very academic as well. And I feel so, but part of me thinks, and maybe this is a conspiracy theory,
Mm.
that a lot of this stuff to do with the causing wars and everything else is because in correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you know about this, but in one of the books, it might even be the Book of Revelations, they say that after a sort of um anything that resembles, sort of an apocalypse or craziness, the Jesus Christ will reappear. So
Mhm.
one has to
Yeah.
wonder how many of these people are basically, I mean, some of the people that are involved in, I'm not just talking about America here. I'm talking about, like, I'm
Oh, this
talking
is
about,
global. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
oh
For
yeah.
sure.
So I'm, how much of this do we think is causing chaos in
Hmm.
order to, some of it is fanatically based. Can you see the thread where I'm going here? So I think that
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of stuff like that coming
Yeah.
out as well.
I agree with that as well. I mean,
Oh,
I,
for
I
sure. I
think
mean,
I think there
what's
are
already been
probably go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I was just saying what's already been revealed. I mean, we're obviously honing in specifically on you're not honing in specifically on the Epstein files. You're talking about just anything in general. You'll start seeing more and more things reveal itself.
Completely, and stuff.
That's what I took out of that. What you
And
just said.
shocking,
Yeah.
and Aquarius as an energy is
Hmm.
it's quite, I'm not just talking about the people because I'm Aquarius myself, but I'm not just talking about the people. This is much bigger than one person or 1/12 of the population who born under, it's not exactly as specific as that, but you know what I mean.
Right. Right.
The Aquarius there. I'm talking Aquarius is quite a shocking energy in itself. So you've got Pluto, which
Sure.
represents power, and then you've got Aquarius, which represents raising awareness, um,
Hmm.
humanity, rebellion, revolution, and revelations.
Well, shoot, girl, that's my rising sign.
There you go.
Right?
So
So it's
yeah,
an Aquarius. You're saying go into that, right? Because when I talk to people at work about this, I mean, people know astrology on the surface level, but you're taking it one step deeper to give meaning to the life around us, right?
yeah,
People just think, oh, okay, Capricorn, your day's going to be an 8 because of this stuff that's happening in your
Yeah,
life
no.
today.
She sees the
But
world through the lens of astrology. Like she's seeing all of
yeah.
this.
So if I
yeah.
told you that, right? I have my birth chart here. I know last time we were on the show, we went over a little bit onto it. Um, if I say my rising, right, the terminology of it, my rising sun,
Your rising
correct?
sign,
My
your
rising
rising
sign,
sign, and your sun.
yep, is an Aquarius. I'm a
Hmm.
Capricorn.
Hmm.
Um, so if I told you that, how do you translate that into what we're talking about right now?
Okay, so I would say that in terms of what you're talking about now, your rising sign being Aquarius, it means that your your sun in the sign of Capricorn is basically, in a way, quite traditional. So there's a part of you that's very traditional. So
Hmm.
but then your Aquarius side is actually quite inspired by all of this revolutionary stuff that's
Yeah.
going on at the moment.
So
So
all of these revolution, these revealing topics, I am like a kid in a candy shop.
yes, because you
I'm
see,
feeling into that energy. I just want to learn. I want to grab and
yes,
obtain as much knowledge as I
Hmm.
can. I've been feeling that way since the last time we spoke,
yes,
if not even a little bit further. So we were in Pluto, right?
we're talking
Pluto is
about
in
Pluto is now in Aquarius, right?
correct. Yep. So
So you
before
have
it was in where was Pluto last year?
so Pluto moved in, correct me if I'm wrong, and any
Mhm.
astrologers that are listening to this, don't shoot me, but I feel like it moved in January off the top of my head.
Okay. Understood.
So
Okay.
so
So
but
with now with the Aquarius people out there, they're feeling a lot more open and wanting to obtain knowledge on items or on
I think that
things in life.
for the aquarium people out there, they're probably quite inspired by the
Mhm.
fact that people are waking up, because Aquarians are they're not good, they're not sheeple. You know that
Mhm.
saying?
Yep.
Instead, the sheep, the
Yeah, they're
sheeple,
not
they're
people
not
that follow.
sheeple.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, they're not necessarily all leaders, but they like it when there's a revolution, if things have become somewhat stale and stuck in the mud, and
Right.
you because Capricorn energy, in a way, forgive me, it's not meant to be,
Mhm.
so personal, but Capricorn energy is, you could say traditionally, it's like to say to someone, well, why is it that way? Well, it's because that's the way it's always been. Capricorn is like money and traditional banking, whereas
Yep.
crypto is Aquarius.
Got it. That's a great analogy with that, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I won't be offended at all. You can you can say anything you want to the sign of a Capricorn, even though that's what I am. I mean, I want to learn from it. So,
Yeah,
100%. That's a good analogy of Capricorns are all about the money, and
yeah,
Aquarius people are all about the crypto and the what ifs, right?
yeah, and I think that there's lots of stuff that I've done a little jot. We can go through all of the signs and see where they are and what's going on for them. But I think the overall big big picture is basically about bringing Pluto is also like the dark destroyer. It's about
Mm,
bringing things to light that have been hidden,
okay.
but Aquarius can be quite shocking. So we haven't even touched the surface yet in terms of what's
I've been
going
reading
on.
that lately. When it comes to this time, these years, right, from 26 to about 28, 29, I've been hearing and reading about this revelation of stuff. Is that coincidental because of where we're at right now in astrology, or is that
Oh, it's the
just what people
astrology.
have? Okay, so it's the individuals that have learned astrology that already know in the future, based on how the astrological signs are going to be. These are things that are going to be coming out. Is that?
And I also think that even if you don't know, because before I understood astrology, I could
Hmm.
read energy. And as far as I'm concerned, astrology is just a language of energy. And it's
Hmm.
just
Okay.
it's just a framework of energy. And if you look at patterns, you can frame it in an astrological that's why I don't write monthly horoscopes. I mean, I'd be, you know, quite a rich woman if I did.
Right.
Huh. I mean,
Because
I
you do
think
the
it just
daily ones, right? And you see it all the time with people.
Daily or
yeah.
monthly, or I don't mind the astrological weather. I used to write for a magazine called Tatsler magazine, and they asked me if
Okay.
I wanted to do something monthly, and I said I'd do the astrological weather, but I wasn't
Okay.
really up for doing 12 signs of the zodiac and this is what's happening, because it's not like that. And sometimes people have their months, and sometimes there's not much, loads going on for them.
Okay.
Whereas, do you see what I'm saying? So it's
Hmm.
I don't mean to discredit, horoscopes and stuff, but I do think that most of it's just I don't read them personally. I mean, actually, that's not strictly true. Sometimes I look at Susan Miller, but I feel like
Okay.
Susan Miller's stuff, she's Pisces with lots, she's Aries or Pisces, but she's got lots of both of those signs in her chart. And
Hmm.
Pisces is basically like the seer or the psychic of the zodiac. So it's not just straight astrology. There's intuition behind it as well. So I do sometimes read Susan Miller's astrology, but as a rule, I don't tend to read it because I think it's impossible to band the whole world into 12 signs of the zodiac and expect them to be experiencing the same kinds of things at the same time and to be the
Right.
same
All the
kinds of people.
Capricorns are experiencing this, right?
Yeah.
It's
You have
not.
to throw in your nurture versus nature aspect, right? You have your
Yeah,
you have your nature of what you were born with, your astrological, and then you have your
yeah,
nurturing, how people were raised up, right? You could be as perfect
yeah.
Capricorn, whatever that energy looks like leading into your life. But if you were treating like shit throughout your entire life, I don't know what that's going to turn into, but it's
Well,
definitely not going
yeah,
to be the same as the other Capricorn down the road that wasn't treated like shit. So,
Exactly, and I also
right.
think that it's almost like you can, because most people will say that they're very like their star signs,
I
or
hear that a lot.
they're very much like their star signs or they're very much like their rising signs. But most people who say they're very much like their star signs, because the sun rules the ego, it's usually the ego traits that we identify with, why
Hmm.
we're all so happy to jump up and down and say we're that sign anyway.
Right, right. Oh, like, oh, you're a Pisces. Oh, I
that's it.
understand now. Blah blah blah.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. That's the thing is, and I think you're saying more because whenever I talk to my wife about this stuff, she's always like, "No, there's no way. People are way too different for you to say, oh, I'm Scorpio, so I'm this, or
Yes.
I'm Pisces, so I'm this." And
Yes.
I think what you're saying aligns with that, where it's like, yeah, no, like there are a lot of different types of Pisces, or in a lot of types of what fill in the blank. But you're saying you just take it as a step further, where you're trying to understand, and this is where like um the alignment of things, where you go within the map that you have, the astrological map, and you can really like see where
Yes.
you were born, and
Yes.
and there's a lot in with that, and that basically
Talking about
helps
this, by
to.
the way.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
is it the chart? Yeah. So
Yep.
basically, my thought is, and this is probably what you're saying, but fill in the blanks, please, Caroline. I'm sure I'm missing some things, but basically, it's like you get 20 I'm using Scorpio because I'm Scorpio, but you get 20 Scorpios in a room. You're gonna have maybe some similarities, but I feel like if you get like 12, you get 12 of each one of them. You're gonna be like, oh, well, shoot, there's a Capricorn, there's a Pisces, and a Scorpio that all have very similar, traits.
Right.
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 So I think it's like what my wife was saying, and even what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, I do align with those certain things. It's like if you were to just say, "Hey, Scorpios are like this, 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 and this," I'd be like, "Yeah, I align with those things."
Yeah, the
I
general
guess,
traits.
yeah, it's like these general traits. It's like that's cool. It's kind of nice to understand it, but like, then what? And that's what we're talking about. And I think that's what you're getting at. You
Yeah.
want to
Yep.
know these affairs, these world affairs that are going on right now, because you're
Yeah.
thinking well beyond this. And so let's dive into that a
Yeah.
bit more.
I think so the chart that you were just showing up,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
that's a map of the stars when you were born, and it's just like the car that you have to drive. It's not you.
Yep.
Anyone that thinks that you are your astrology, that's wrong, because astrology is just a tool or a mechanism used to gain awareness of self,
Hmm.
situations, and certain patterns of energy, if you like. So
Okay.
it's almost like, for me, I've always been intuitive. I told you this in our first sort of meeting. I used to have dreams when I was a child, and those dreams used to come to pass.
Hmm.
I've always been able to I could sense when things weren't right, or and so I've had to learn how to manage that and to turn it on and turn it off, because it's like having the same it's like a radio frequency.
Well, yeah, it's
And a
just
lot of,
constantly in your head, right?
well, yeah, and
Hmm.
this is the thing with children. If you've got highly sensitive children, they
Mm.
need to learn methods of how to to sort of turn it up and turn it down and turn it, off when they want to, because and because otherwise they become very destructive,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
self-destructive mostly,
Mostly. Yeah.
because they're so sensitive and they don't have the language to be able to explain what they're experiencing and feeling and seeing and hearing. So I
Hmm.
think, for me, the reason why I became so passionate about astrology was because it gave me a framework to understand other people, to understand what was going on, and to understand myself.
Hmm.
you know and
Yep.
but in terms of understanding it from world affairs, I mean, I think I told you, I wrote a journal called Your Stars. In America, it came out as Your Signs.
Yep.
In 2019, I was approached
This
by
right here.
Harper. That's no,
This
no,
is The
that's the
Signs. You're talking
Signs.
about a sequel after this.
Yes. So what happened
Yep.
was I used to write the astrological weather for a magazine called Tatler magazine. It's like Vogue magazine. It's fabulous, very fabulous. And it's high fashion, glossy magazine. And I used to write the astrological weather for them.
Hmm.
So I was approached by HarperCollins to see. Now I'd been doing all these sketches about 2020 for years.
Okay.
I called it the Great Awakening 2020, basically. And I was approached in 2019. They asked me if I would write a journal for 2020. So, of course, I was over the moon. So, in that journal, I've talked about by the end of this year, life will have changed beyond recognition,
Dang.
and some people have gone back to how they used to be, but many things have changed
In case
exponentially.
anybody hasn't realized, she's talking about your 2020 COVID
Right.
time where the entire
Yeah.
world changed.
Exactly. And so, but you see, the reason I knew that it was going to be massive was because a lot of the astrology, like astrologers, what they do, they're like pattern recognition robots.
Hmm.
So you'll hear a lot of astrology. What I don't, and if any astrologers are listening to this, please stop doing this, because we don't need so much validation. Like, they keep going on about all the stuff they got right.
Got it.
And it's not about that.
Interesting.
Do you
What is
know,
it
like,
about? Exactly.
it's about educating people and helping triggering this energy of awareness and love,
Hmm.
and basic the
And
beauty.
understanding, sounds like.
Yes. That's what astrology does.
Connection.
It helps you to understand yourself and know
Mhm.
thyself. You can
Hmm.
understand other people from a more compassionate, like, for instance, I'm working on a project at the moment. I'm dealing with some incredibly difficult people. And one of the women I've been dealing with is one of the most difficult humans I've ever dealt with. And she sent me an email today apologizing for her behavior. And it was so open and vulnerable that I instantly forgave her
Hmm.
and basically sent her an email back saying, "Don't worry, we love you."
Hmm.
Do you see what I'm trying to say? But so my point is that you have to disarm all of this negativity and fear that the patriarchy is pushing out there to control us.
Hmm.
So
Bring it back
that
what we were talking about in the beginning, where this
right.
this male and I have we're a platform of neutrality, right? Jared has his own point of views. I have my own point of views, and what's on our show, I want to try to be as neutral as we can, but at the same time, with this, it's such a, I don't know how else to describe it. It's such a toxic topic. That's just the
It
only
is
word I
like,
can think of.
yeah,
This toxic
yeah,
masculinity. People out there, there's men out there, there's even women out there that will say that I need this man to be this way. What Caroline and what I'm talking about, Jared, you can put your own point of view in there as well. It's not about that, people. It's about love. It's
yeah,
about
it is.
get out of your
And,
egos. Get out of the
and
ego.
like Jared said as well, it's about understanding. And if you
Yeah.
truly understand yourself, I mean, I had to say this to one of the team I'm working with, because he was just like, "Look, we're dealing with, people that are there's so much money involved in this that people are so stressed." And
Mm,
one of my team members said, "Oh, it's just people that are really stressed." I said, "No, no, no, because during the course of this project, I have met some bad people."
mm,
Do you see what I'm saying? But the majority of people are good people that just behave badly. And when you show them, I'm not saying to be a walkover, because I'm far from a walkover. I have very, very tough boundaries,
mhm.
but but I am also compassionate. And as soon as someone apologizes and really means it, I forgive them.
Sure.
Because otherwise, it's like Nelson Mandela. When I'm not by any stretch of the imagination likening myself to Nelson Mandela. But what I'm saying is, Nelson Mandela, they put him in prison. He came out and they said, "Oh, you must have so much hatred towards your
Right.
captors." And he turned around and said some words to the effect of, "Well, absolutely not, because then I'd still be in prison."
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
You're using that anger, you're just gonna get yourself more
right.
in
So,
trouble, right?
so back to the thread. It's like the astrologers that keep going, "I predicted this and I predicted that," and what we're doing, guys, as fellow astrologers, is frightening people. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're saying that this is fatalistic. This is a prediction. This, therefore, this must happen. You know, and some people are talking about. Even myself, I was saying, look, you know, all of the astrology that's out there is indicative of war, and you
Mhm.
know, and I'm not, you know, I'm not saying, oh, you know, isn't that great? But what I'm saying is, so many astrologers are like, oh, I got this prediction wrong. Well, what we need to do is just educate people.
What are we gonna
You
do with
don't
that
need,
information? Like,
right,
that's
right.
great that, you know, we see that war is gonna happen. We see this shift, right? You're talking about these patterns. That's I brought it up to 2027, 2028. There's some sort of shift that's happening around that. Every 80 years, America goes through some sort of shift. I'm sure there's some astrological pattern with that as well. But harping on the astrological patterns with specifically those 2 years, that shift, that war, whatever is coming, you know, this fatalistic, and that's what is bringing what you're talking about is bringing this fear into society. So how do we take this astrological pattern of this impending doom that we're, you know, expecting to get, like we were, it brings back like the 2000, the Y2K movement,
Hmm.
right? I only know what happened here in America, but what was happening over in the other parts of the world in 2000 or
Whatever.
1999? What do you remember
People,
back then?
I remember, all I remember was people thinking that everyone was talking about the world ending, and all I remember was that there was a big nightmare with technology.
Yeah.
That was as big as it got, really, you
That's it.
know?
The war was ending on the technology, but not really. It was actually booming. Like,
It
right?
what's
That was
what's what's interesting about the war situation, is that basically the thing is, right, is that during World War II, there was an astrological, it was actually, it indicated the rise in fascism. I don't have the dates off the top of
hmm,
my head right now, but I have done my studies, and you know, you can definitely look into this. But basically,
mhm,
there's a planet called Uranus, and it moved into the sign of Taurus. And when that happened, the last time it happened, it indicated the rise in fascism. The first, you know,
mhm.
the not the first rise in fascism. It's a cycle, but I'm saying the rise in fascism, and then we had World War II, right? So
Right.
some of the astrology that we have kicked in 2019 was the same astrology that indicated the rise in fascism. And I don't know about you, but fascism, for me, from what I've been seeing, has been rising. Um,
Sure.
we talk about, you know, the reform movement in the UK. I'm sorry, but Nigel Farage is one of the most despicable human beings, apart from Trump, that, I'm sorry, like, I'm allowed to have my own opinion, and I
You can
do have.
have your own opinion. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah, for
So
100%, Caroline.
despicable human beings. They really are, like,
Yeah.
despicable. And so, yeah, there's many, many, many more, but, you know, I'm just talking about I'm very linked to the US. Number one, because, as you know, some of my friends that are like my family over there,
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
are like my family. We've been close for over 15 years. And also, I have books in the US. I have colleagues in the US, so I have business in the US. So I am very interested in the US and the UK. But it's
Hmm.
almost like the rise in fascism. So that kicked in 2019. And then this planet Uranus was in the sign of Taurus, and it moved out for a little while, and then it moved back in. And it sort of moved into Gemini for a little while. But in April, towards the end of April, it moves back into the sign of Gemini, where it remains. And the last time Uranus moved into Gemini, now, if you think about Gemini as an energy, it's about communication. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is traditionally, everyone associates Mercury with communication. You've got that big company, Mercury Communications. Where do you think it all comes from? Hermes, the winged messenger, communication and intelligence. I'm not just talking about the Geminis that read. There's two kinds of Geminis. There's the very smart, pensive, thinkers, and then you've got the other ones that just read the trashy magazine sort of thing. It's intelligence on the gone right and ignorance gone wrong. It
Sure.
moves in, but the last time that happened, it indicated we started winning the war due to intelligence. So this is a war that's going on at the moment. I know that there are, it's not, is the war coming? We are in the war now.
We're in it now. Yeah. It's not, we're
We
not
are
waiting like this 2027 and 2028.
yeah,
Like
we
we're
are
actively in the war right now.
we are
So
we are we are we are we are on let's be frank, we're on a knife edge here
yeah.
of this World War III situation. I don't think we are going to walk into World War III, but that could just be wishful thinking. That's not predictive or anything else. But what I am saying is that the last time Uranus was in the sign of Gemini and it stayed in that sign, we began to win the war due to intelligence, code breakers. You're talking about, the resistance, not just when you guys stepped in and saved us all, which is what all those films say. Long enough to
America
join
came in
us.
and saved the day. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Hey, we brought the intelligence in.
but that was, you had the resistance movement, throughout that basically, and it was to do with intelligence. That's how we won the war. We were just a stone throw away from all of us speaking German. I wish I knew how to speak German. It's a very hard language. My Spanish is okay, but but I'm just saying, we would have been forced to speak it. So
Right.
so
So going on the current event side of things, then where do we go from here? Right, we're on our show right now. We're talking about astrology. Where do our listeners go with this information that we're leading into? Right, today marks, for everyone knowing, today is spring solstice. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in spring solstice, so this is new birth, new beginnings. So we have all this negative, right? This negative stuff that's happening around us, the manosphere type, the Trumps in the world, the Epsteins, all this Iran stuff. We're in a new day today, right? New day, new births. Where do we go from all that? How do we take that negative energy and
we have to resist, number one, and number two, we have to keep our vibrations high. So, for instance, these things like the manosphere, I mean, it's good to understand and know what's going on, but we only need the headlines. We don't need to deep dive.
Sure.
And I think that
that's the resistance you're talking about.
Yes.
When you say we have to resist, it's resist the deep dive on certain things. Is that what you mean?
Well, I'm talking about that's on two. Resisting is on two levels. Resisting is basically saying no when everyone else is saying yes, when we know it's wrong.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Oak Road Diaries. We really appreciate you, and we really, really do hope that it added even the tiniest bit of value to your life.
If you felt that the conversation resonated with you, we invite you to share it, because you really never know who needs to hear this today.
You can find more tools for intentional living and the 7 pillars of transformation at thehappyatrium.com, or connect with us on our socials at thehappyatrium. We'd love to see and interact with you there.
Until next time, keep tending to your inner child, one breath, one step, and one story at a time.
Take care, and we'll see you down the road.